My cheating wife brought her lover into our home, and he attacked me. When he shattered my phone and vowed to ruin me, I fought back with a hammer to his forehead, setting the stage for my relentless revenge. It was an especially cold Thursday night in Zurich, the kind of evening where no number of layers could keep the chill from creeping into your bones. I sat alone in our living room, the soft crackle of the fire breaking the silence, as I waited for Anna to return home. Once again, she was late. Her late nights had grown increasingly frequent over the past few weeks, her excuses becoming ever vaguer. The sound of the door unlocking finally broke the heavy quiet. Rising to greet her, I watched as Anna stepped inside, her coat still buttoned tightly, her cheeks flushed from the frigid air. She glanced at me briefly, her expression neutral yet distant. "Sorry I'm late," she said, unbuttoning her coat, still avoiding my eyes. "Another client meeting?" I asked, attempting to keep my tone light despite the unease gnawing at me. "Yeah," she muttered, tossing her bag onto the counter. Then, after a pause, she added, "Listen, Lucas, I need to talk to you." Something in her voice made me freeze. I turned to face her fully, a knot forming in my stomach. "What's going on?" Anna exhaled sharply, as if bracing herself for a speech she had rehearsed. "Martin's father passed away," she began. "It's been really hard on him. He's a colleague from the gallery and a close friend. He's asked for my support while he handles the arrangements." "That's unfortunate," I said cautiously, my tone measured. "But what does that have to do with us?" "I'm going to stay with him for a couple of weeks," she said bluntly, her words hitting me like a sledgehammer. I blinked, convinced I had misheard her. "You're what?" "Lucas, this isn't up for debate," she said, her voice sharp and cold. "He needs me. You'll just have to deal with it." I stared at her, struggling to comprehend the absurdity of what she was saying. "Anna, you can't just leave like this. What about us? What about your job? This doesn't make any sense." She rolled her eyes, her patience clearly wearing thin. "I'm doing this, Lucas, and if you try to interfere, or even think about filing for divorce, I'll destroy you." Her words left me stunned, the air in the room feeling thick and suffocating. This wasn't the Anna I thought I knew, the woman I had shared my life with for the past 8 years. She had become someone colder, sharper, and far more calculating. Without another word, she brushed past me and disappeared into the bedroom to pack a suitcase. I remained frozen in place, my mind a whirlwind of questions I couldn't answer. Who was Martin, really? And what had happened to my wife? The following morning, Anna left before the first rays of sunlight could break the horizon. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her words from the previous night looping in my mind, the tension still coiled tightly in my chest. I dissected every sentence she had spoken, desperate for any hidden meaning, any explanation for her sudden shift. But the truth didn't stay hidden for long. When I eventually got up and entered the kitchen, I noticed her laptop sitting on the counter. Anna had never been particularly secretive about her devices, but something about her recent behavior set alarm bells ringing. I hesitated, caught between the urge to respect her privacy and the gnawing need for answers. Ultimately, my instincts won out. With a deep breath, I opened her email. At first, everything seemed mundane, work-related messages, a few subscription notifications. But then I noticed a folder labeled Personal. My heart pounded as I clicked on it. There it was, plain as day, the truth I had feared. Email exchanges between Anna and Martin filled with flirtatious jokes, inside references, and details of nights they had spent together. One email in particular made my stomach turn. "Last night was incredible. I can't wait to see you again. The way you look at me. I've never felt so alive." The timestamp was from a week ago. The betrayal was glaringly obvious, but I needed more. My hands trembled as I scrolled further. The emails became bolder, more explicit, revealing plans for weekend getaways and even whispers of a future together. Each word felt like a dagger twisting in my chest. Slamming the laptop shut, I stared at the black screen, my reflection staring back at me. A man unrecognizable. I saw someone who was hurt, humiliated, and furious. But above all else, I was resolute. If Anna thought she could deceive me and walk away without consequence, she was gravely mistaken. That evening, I decided to find her. She had once mentioned Martin's address in passing, calling it a stunning penthouse in one of Zurich's most exclusive neighborhoods. It didn't take long to locate the building. A sleek, modern, and ostentatiously luxurious high-rise. I parked a block away, my hands gripping the steering wheel tightly. I wasn't sure what I expected to discover, but I couldn't sit idly by while my marriage disintegrated. Approaching the building, I hesitated before pressing the intercom. A woman's voice answered, likely the concierge. I lied, saying I had a delivery for Martin. She buzzed me in without question. The elevator ride to the top floor felt endless. My palms were slick with sweat, my heartbeat thundering in my ears. When the doors finally opened, I stepped into a private corridor, where a single door stood slightly ajar, light spilling into the hallway. I crept forward, my footsteps muffled by the plush carpet. As I got closer, I heard voices. Anna's unmistakable laugh mingling with a deeper voice that I assumed belonged to Martin. My chest tightened as I peered through the crack in the door. There they were. Anna sat close to Martin on a sleek leather couch, a wine glass in hand, her other hand resting casually on his knee. He leaned in, whispering something that made her laugh again. A soft, intimate sound that sent a wave of nausea through me. Before I could stop myself, I pushed the door open. The sharp sound startled them both. Anna's face turned ashen, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. Martin quickly sprang to his feet, his expression morphing from shock to fury. "What the hell are you doing here?" he demanded, stepping closer to me. "I could ask you the same thing," I fired back, my voice trembling under the weight of my barely contained anger. "Anna, how could you?" She stood abruptly, positioning herself between us with her hands raised, as if trying to diffuse the tension. "Lucas, this isn't what it looks like. Don't insult me." I cut her off sharply, my voice laced with bitterness. "I've read the emails. I know everything." Martin smirked, his arrogance almost suffocating. "Then you know she's with me now," he said, his words dripping with condescension. Before I could formulate a reply, he lunged toward me, yanking my phone from my pocket and smashing it against the floor with a loud crack. "Stay out of this, Lucas," he snarled, his voice low and threatening. "If you don't, I'll destroy you." His threat set something ablaze inside me. My eyes swept the room, landing on a hammer resting on the coffee table. No doubt part of some pretentious art installation. Without hesitation, I grabbed it, adrenaline coursing through my veins. The air was electric, the tension between us so thick it was almost tangible. The only sounds were my labored breaths and the pounding of my heart. Martin stood tall and cocky, his smug grin practically daring me to act. He didn't see me as a threat, and that only enraged me more. "Put that down," Martin sneered, gesturing at the hammer in my hand. "You're not going to do anything. You're just a pathetic little man she doesn't love anymore." His words were deliberate, each one designed to cut deep. The weight of the hammer in my hand felt heavier as my grip tightened. For a brief moment, I hesitated. Could I really cross this line? Then I looked at Anna. Her face wasn't filled with fear for me. It was fear for him. Her concern, her loyalty was all for Martin, the man who had shattered my life. Any doubt I had dissolved in that instant. "You think you can just take everything from me?" I said, my voice low and cold. "My wife, my dignity." "Not without consequences." Martin lunged at me again, but this time I didn't flinch. I swung the hammer with all my strength, the solid weight of it colliding with his forehead. The sickening thud echoed through the room as he crumpled to the floor like a puppet whose strings had been severed. Anna's scream pierced the air as she dropped to her knees beside him. Blood trickled down Martin's forehead as he groaned, dazed but still alive. I stood over them, chest heaving, my grip on the hammer unrelenting. "Now you know what it feels like to be powerless," I said, my voice eerily calm amidst the chaos. "This is only the beginning." Leaving Martin sprawled on the floor, I walked out of the apartment, my mind already racing with the next steps. A primal part of me wanted that hammer swing to be the end of it, but it wasn't enough. Martin and Anna had conspired to destroy me. Now it was my turn. Back at home, I scoured every trace of Anna's life that she'd left behind. Her laptop, emails, even her bank statements painted a damning picture. She and Martin had been embezzling funds from the gallery, laundering the money through fake invoices for supposed event expenses. Their betrayal wasn't just personal, it was criminal. I gathered every shred of evidence, organizing it meticulously. Screenshots of incriminating emails, copies of the fraudulent invoices, and even intimate photos of Anna and Martin that I'd found buried in her files. Each piece was another nail in the coffin I was preparing for them. My first move was to contact the gallery's board of directors anonymously. Knowing they prided themselves on their pristine reputation, I composed a carefully worded email, attaching the evidence and urging them to investigate quietly. But I wasn't stopping there. I began planting seeds of doubt within our circle of mutual friends and acquaintances. I shared just enough details to ignite suspicions about Anna and Martin's integrity. Whispers soon turned into rumors, and before long, their names were on everyone's lips. Finally, I set my trap for Martin. Using an alias, I posed as a potential investor interested in partnering with his business. He eagerly took the bait, setting up a meeting without hesitation. What he didn't know was that I had tipped off the financial crimes unit about his illegal dealings. When he arrived at the meeting, investigators were already waiting for him. The fallout was swift and devastating. Martin's arrest made headlines, his empire collapsing under the weight of his greed. The gallery's internal investigation exposed enough evidence to fire Anna immediately. Both of them became pariahs in Zurich social circles, their reputations irreparably destroyed. A week later, Anna appeared at my doorstep, her face pale and hollow. She looked like a ghost of the confident woman who had so coldly dismissed me just days earlier. "Lucas," she began, her voice quivering. "Please, let me explain." "There's nothing to explain," I replied, my tone cold as ice. "You made your choice. Now you're facing the consequences." Tears streamed down her face as she tried to plead with me. "I was manipulated," she sobbed. "Martin promised me things. I was stupid enough to believe him. Please, I made a mistake." I stared at her, the woman I had once loved and trusted, now reduced to a broken shell of herself. For a fleeting moment, pity stirred within me. But then, I remembered the betrayal, the threats, and the lies. "I don't hate you, Anna," I said finally, my voice steady. "But I'll never forgive you." I shut the door, her muffled sobs fading as I turned the lock. It was the closure I needed, a clean break from the pain she had caused. In the months that followed, the chaos gradually faded into the background. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine again. I found solace in the small things. Quiet mornings running along the Limmat River, peaceful evenings with a good book, and the satisfaction of knowing I had reclaimed my dignity. Anna left Zurich not long after, retreating to a small town in southern France. Martin, meanwhile, faced years of legal battles and financial ruin. Their once idyllic love story had become a cautionary tale. One evening, as I strolled along the riverbank, the city lights shimmering on the water, I reflected on everything that had transpired. The betrayal, the anger, the revenge. It had all left scars. But those scars were a testament to my resilience, a reminder of my ability to rebuild. As a cool breeze swept across my face, I whispered softly, "Sometimes, destruction is the first step to new beginnings." With that, I turned away from the river, ready to embrace whatever the future had in store.